Good afternoon or good morning. We've gotten some good news during the past 24 hours for North Carolina. In fact, just during the past hour, we've gotten some good news for North Carolina. As you can see by the map to my right, this storm keeps moving more to the east at an earlier time period. This is the latest update that we've received. This is a completely different model that we were receiving yesterday. I want to compliment the Euro model again. This is the second time that we've gotten good news from the Euro model versus the USA model, but now this is the consensus model regarding the tracking of Hurricane Matthew. And as you see in this model, the North Carolina impact is much, much lessened. However, this does not mean we don't keep our guards up, because as we've learned in the past, these models can change at a moment's notice, as they have done during the past 24 hours, and in fact, even during the past several hours. Our goal is to continue to be over-prepared, and our goal is to be underwhelmed, and that's exactly what we're seeking with this hurricane, and so far, we're getting that reaction. And that's very, very good news, especially for the coastal areas of North Carolina and even some of the inland areas of North Carolina that have gotten saturated with rain during the past 2 weeks. This is extremely good news, especially for the agricultural community. As you know, I declared a state of emergency earlier this week as a result of a recommendation from Commissioner Troxler. Commissioner Troxler and I talked in the past 30 minutes, and he said the farmers have taken advantage of that state of emergency and have been working extremely hard during the past 72 hours to get their crops up as quick as possible, because there still is an opportunity for some serious rain of 5 to 10 inches in certain areas of the state, and that's the last thing we need regarding some of the saturated ground that we have up and down the coast, both in the southeast and in the northeastern part of North Carolina. I do want to let you know that we still have a state of emergency for 66 counties, and central and eastern North Carolina remains in effect. And we are still placing resources from the National Guard to the Highway Patrol to the Red Cross to the Salvation Army. We've got them in place in case this thing turns. And we're going to keep them in place and keep moving them around in case this adjustment is made, and I assume the utilities are doing the same thing. I have also offered help to Nikki Haley, my good friend in South Carolina, to see if she will need any help based upon the storm still having a huge impact, it looks like, on the Georgia coast and the South Carolina coast. So we will be offering resources if requested. However, at this point in time, we don't want to move any just in case there is a sudden turn toward North Carolina. I want to say, again, we're in the staging process still with our Highway Patrol, our National Guard troops, our urban search and rescue teams, our swiftwater rescue teams, teams of ambulances and paramedics, as well as needed supplies. We've been literally working for 48 hours getting this in place. Right now, counties such as Hyde and Dare are still considering evacuations. However, I think as they get this news, they're going to have that consideration. In North Carolina history, we rely on the local governments, the local county emergency officials, to make the evacuation calls. So we'll be getting those recommendations from them. I know in the Wilmington area, they're going to be calling a press conference at 11:30 and giving their latest update regarding if there's any need for evacuation on the beaches or any other area. We're going to be waiting on their recommendations. They too are just getting this latest model, so we'll be following their lead. I do need to let you know Ocracoke Island is currently being evacuated. Secretary Tennyson has made the ferry available for them, and we've made adjustments in our ferry schedule as we have done in the past. But again, Hyde and Dare have been considering evacuations. I know there were some considerations of them for today, but we're going to wait for them to give the latest update based upon this report. We are also prepared to assist with evacuations in any way if someone does determine that they do need to evacuate. We want to urge still citizens, especially on the beaches, to stay off the beaches when the storm comes. There are still going to be heavy winds from possibly 30 to 70 miles an hour. Right now, based upon this model, we anticipate the winds to be more on the lower end of that range based upon what we have seen in the last 50 minutes. And that is very, very good news regarding electric outages and also remaining trees going down, which which is good news because of the saturation of the ground. I do want to let you know also that the declaration for North Carolina still makes us eligible for direct federal assistance from FEMA, including generators, food and water, and other needed items. We're going to probably do a later update around 5 o'clock today. I'm not sure if we'll all speak, but we're going to get another forecast between now and then, see if there's any adjustments at that point in time. And that's where we'll probably start making decisions on what to do with our resources and how much assistance we might be able to provide our neighboring states. And we want to help them in any way if we can and if we see this pattern continues. Again, if you are down at the beach areas or even inland, it's going to be some serious rain with heavy saturation. Do not go through any flooded waters. Of course, much of this will not occur till the weekend, probably Sunday morning or even Sunday afternoon at this point in time. So this thing's been slowing up since the last time we've talked to you. And it's going to be a very interesting pattern that we're seeing at this point in time. But don't do anything foolish or stupid and start surfing at a time when we have no idea what the currents are. I know that won't convince the surfers at Wrightsville Beach, but please be careful. We want to put anyone at risk regarding our emergency operations team. And I really seek your assistance as this storm comes forward and recognize that it could change at a moment's notice. I'm honored to have Frank Perry, our Secretary of Public Safety here, our Nick Tennyson, Department of Transportation, our incredible Emergency Management Director, Mike Sprayberry, our Highway Patrol Colonel Gray, and of course our National Guard Adjutant General Greg Luss. These individuals for the last 2 weeks have not gotten a lot of rest. We've had the gas situation out west. We've had the Charlotte situation, which is we're pleased to see that's under control. And again, I want to thank my Guard and my troopers for the great job they did. We still have cities and towns like Windsor right now that are still trying to recover from devastating floods, and neighborhoods that are still soaked in that area. We're still helping them. We've got some environmental issues and other things we're dealing with down there. And we just hope this model stays intact. The Euro model stays intact. It's going to be very, very important for North Carolina. This hurricane heads back out in the ocean as early as possible before it hits our coast. And our prayers are with our neighbors in South Carolina at this point in time. And again, we've seen these things inch up and get the tail end of North Carolina. The tail often hits. We've seen that in the Southport area with the previous flooding last year. And so it's going to be interesting how long that tail of this hurricane may be as it heads back out to the ocean. So with that, we'd be glad to take any questions you might have. I've got a great team next to me, and I want to thank the media for their ongoing communications. We just hope this trend continues. But if it doesn't and it changes, we are ready to move at a moment's notice. So questions, if you could recognize yourself, and be glad to do the best I can to answer your questions or get one of my colleagues. Yeah, we could have some flash flooding, and again, it depends how quick. We might be getting real close to between Myrtle Beach and the Southport area, where we had some serious flooding last year. I've seen it firsthand on the ground and from a helicopter. We've got some real low-lying areas out there, and our roads can be covered very quickly. So the last thing we want to do is have people try to go through those roads. We've got some great sheriffs in that area and great county personnel, so if they see any flooding on roads, they'll take immediate action to close those roads. I just hope that thing goes out to the ocean before it even hits our border. And I'm praying for Charleston at this point in time.
Dr. McCrory, Laura Leslie with WRAL News. You said evacuation of Okotoks is already underway. Is that for visitors or for folks who live on the island?
I think it's everyone at this point.
Visitors.
I'm sorry, visitors at this point in time. Thanks for that clarification.
And when did that start?
And
5
so,
a.m. this morning.
this morning.
Great, thank you.
And I want to thank the Secretary and his team and Transportation for making that happen. Any other questions? Yes, sir.
You mentioned, Ross with Coastal Review, you mentioned something, environmental issue in Windsor. Can you elaborate?
Well, we had some issues when I went to go visit Windsor recently. there were some neighborhoods that were impacted, and we were doing a check of the water in some of the drainage ditches. It was very interesting. In Windsor, we had some beaver dams on the swamps behind these neighborhoods. And by the way, some of these neighborhoods are very low-income neighborhoods where they just don't have the resources to help themselves. And I personally visited some of the houses where there was a lot of water underneath the house. And ironically, it's due to, well, several factors. The overflow ponds overflowed into the neighborhood. In addition, the swamp behind Windsor then overflowed, and primarily due to beaver dams blocking the water. So during the last 3 or 4 days, we've had people from the Department of Transportation and also our environmental quality area checking that water. We'll get you an update on that, but you know, there are a lot of chemicals out there. There's a lot of farmland out there that we have to be very sensitive to, so a lot of sulfur.
You talked, Bo Minnick with CBS North Carolina, you talked about Windsor. We also had some significant flooding in the Fayetteville area recently.
Yeah.
I'm guessing obviously with the track going farther out to the ocean there, that's good news for those areas, but should those people be concerned?
Right now, I hope not. I've been in contact with a very good mayor of Fayetteville, Nat Robinson, and we both sent each other notes urging this thing to go west. But I've offered him assistance if Fayetteville does get hit. You know, and you know, we've had go back to Hurricane Hugo. You know, I'm hoping we don't all of a sudden have a turn inland, and I don't anticipate that, but we need to be prepared. If back in 1988, Hurricane Hugo shot through Charleston and then went up to Charlotte. But again, we are not getting any signals of that, but we have to be prepared for any movement. And the other thing I hope we don't have, and for the sake of South Carolina, I hope this thing doesn't stall. And that's what really impacted South Carolina and the Columbia area last time, where there were major flooding and dam issues there. So I hope Nikki, my good friend Governor Harley, doesn't have that issue. They've had enough too this year. So that's why I want to help them with any resources we might have, if in fact this model stays intact and doesn't hit North Carolina. But again, I cannot stress the rain and the winds could still cause serious damage, and if people aren't careful, loss of life. Yes, ma'am.
Hi, I'm Legacy Paul with Homeowner Cable News. You mentioned you spoke with Agriculture Commissioner Steve Coxler.
Yes.
Can you expand upon what's being done right now and what type of economic impact we could see because of this?
I don't think we know the economic impact right now. We do know, due to the floods last week and even the week before, we were told a lot of the peanut crop was underwater and most likely wouldn't be recovered. They were having to take some gambles on whether to. The peanut farmers are remarkable. They're the most resilient people I've ever seen. When I go, so do you take them out of the ground or you keep them? And they went, it's a flip of a coin. Or they said, or either decision, we might still lose our crop. I have not got an update for you on how we're doing on the peanut crop, but there's also soybean, sweet potatoes, cotton, and several other crops that we're concerned about at this point in time. And that's one of the reasons Commissioner Troxler recommended to me that we do that state of emergency, and it seems to have been successful up at that point in time. But the ground is very soggy even for them to get the current crops up. But we'll get you an update on that. Anything else? It's great to see my members of the Guard. I hope you're well rested from last week. Y'all just did an outstanding job. I was with the Charlotte Chamber last night in Asheville, and they were extremely complimentary of the work you did. So please convey my thanks again to them, and I hope they got some rest last week. And hopefully we're not going to need the Guard this week, at least in North Carolina. But be ready, and I want to let the people of North Carolina, we're ready if this thing turns within the next several hours. And we'll continue to pray that it doesn't, but we're ready at all costs. Thank you all, and God bless each one of you. Thank you very much.